Hey guys, it's Chernobyl here. I'm with Abom,
And
and we're gonna rank every single crockpot dish in Don't Starve Together.
all right,
Let's get started. We were gonna skip Ambrosia, weren't we?
yeah, ambrosia really is only used for if you want to get more thulecite, but it's a pain in the ass to collect, and it's not really something you'd want to do in order to get more thulecite. You would rather just kill the the ancient fuel weaver again if you really wanted thulecite that badly.
Yeah,
So that's
no,
why we're not going
I was
to
just gonna
put
like,
it anywhere.
hang on, I'm just gonna add a new tier. I'm just gonna add an F tier.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive if I remember correctly. Like I think you need like salt crystals and gemstones to like I think you need blue gems to make it.
Yeah, you need. Let me check. You need something like salts and something else. You gotta make collected dust,
Yeah,
and it's made
it's a
with.
pain in the ass, and like you may as well just like reset the ruins. It's not a very like good way to like renew Fulusite.
Yeah, going around sailing for salt, and salt's not a renewable resource unless
Actually,
you
no,
use
they did
the.
change it where it is renewable but very slowly. Like the salt pillars will like slowly regrow over time, but it's still a pain in the ass because you can't really like relocate them, so you always have to sail out to them to get more.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah,
So,
but still, it's just not really worth the hassle,
but
in
yeah,
my opinion.
it's not really a recipe anyways. I'll put it in F tier now, but it's not really a food like everything else. All right, next, asparagus gazpacho.
Asparagus bacho, it's a Warley specific dish, and out of all of them, I think it's one of the better ones, simply because overheating in summer is a pain in the. It's really, really annoying.
Yeah, I like the dishes that cool you off like way more than the ones that like heat you up because heat. If you know how to play the game, like you can just set a tree on fire. There's just like way more things to do to deal with overheating versus like, deal with freezing rather than overheating. Overheating is just like a way more threatening mechanic. So I think asparagus gazpacho is like it's still like not a great dish. Like the stats it gives you aren't that good, but the fact that it gives you like 5 minutes of overheating resistance, I think is like good enough to just put it in C tier.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh,
And the spoilage time isn't really that bad. Also, it's 15 days, which is above average. Usually, the average is around 10 days or so for crockpot dishes to spoil.
yeah, if you're not going in the
So,
caves during the summer, you could definitely like just make a few in advance, because you only need two to like last more than a day. So I think it's decent. Not great by any means, but it's okay.
yeah, it's good for if you want to fight Antlion or a different like mini boss like Spider Queen or Tree Guard. If you don't really want to commit to not having the umbrella on or having to commit to having something to take up your armor slot, you can just slurp that up and fight it.
Yeah, true. What's next? Asparagus soup. Um, this thing like gives pretty bad stats except for health. I think it gives you like 20 health.
Yeah, it gives 20 health. And my main issue with asparagus soup is that it's really expensive. It's not really hard to craft in Hamlet because you can use one vegetable and two sticks. But in this game, you can't use sticks or ice for some reason. You can't use ice in a soup, which is very strange. If you could use ice, it'd be a different story.
Yeah,
But
maybe it's supposed to be a hot soup. I don't know.
well, I mean, how are you gonna get the soup
Yeah,
without
yeah,
like water?
exactly. But yeah, it's a pretty expensive recipe for something that just gives like the 20 health is nice, but there's so many like healing recipes that are much easier to make, and they give you food and sanity too. So I don't know. I would put it in D tier.
Yeah, it's not to mention that the the health you can get from a cooked vegetable is usually a lot better. Like there's tomatoes and potatoes; those each give you 20 health if you just cook them. So using them in this would just make you lose out on extra health you could have gotten anyway.
True. What's next? Bacon and eggs. Good recipe. It's not too bad to make. It's basically two eggs and like one big meat and one small meat. gives you like 75 hunger, 20 health, 5 sanity, if I remember, which is very solid. Doesn't it have a super long spoilage time too?
Yeah, the spoilage time is 20 days, which is one of the longer ones. I don't know if it's the absolute longest in the game. Well, it's not the absolute longest in the game. We'll get to that
No,
in a
no, no,
second,
no.
though.
But it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Because there's a lot of recipes like later on that restore like similar amounts of hunger, but they don't last nearly as long.
Yes, and having good spoilage time on your crockpot dish is good because, say, you want to go outside of base for more than a few days, you could just make a bunch of those and have it take up only one inventory slot, and you can be away from base or from other sources of food for quite a long time with minimal inventory space commitment.
Yeah, true.
So it's very useful.
So I would put it in A tier.
I put in A tier as well.
What's next? Banana Pop. I don't like these guys too much. So, the problem with them is they're not even terrible. They give, like, decent sanity. They give you a little bit of health back, too. I think they give you very trash hunger. But the problem with them is, in order to get them, you have to get bananas, which, surprisingly enough, is one of the hardest, like, fruits to get in the game. One of the hardest foods to get in the game, just because you have to go into the village biome in the ruins. And Spelunkies, I would argue, are definitely one of the most hard mobs in the game to deal with.
Definitely one of the most annoying.
Extremely annoying, extremely hard to deal with. To make it, you need twigs, bananas, and ice. The twigs aren't a problem, but the thing is, like, if you're going to the ruins, why are you bringing ice with you anyways?
Yeah, there's no real way that you can get ice in the caves, so...
No, there's no way at all. So the idea is, like, you would either have to bring ice down, or you would have to bring bananas back to the surface. And when you're, like, exploring the ruins, inventory space is, like, already extremely precious. It's like, I would rather bring, like, gems and Fulusite back, rather than, bananas. So,
yeah, inventory space is very, very important when you're going in the ruins. It can really... it gets confusing, it gets stressful. You really want to have as much as you can.
Yeah, like, this is a recipe that's, like, fantastic in Shipwrecked, but in Don't Starve Together, it just really doesn't translate well, so I'm gonna put it in D tier.
I put it in D tier as well. It's too much of a hassle for what it gives you. There's better sanity recipes that you can get.
Let's see here. What's next? This is Barnacle Linguine.
Oh yeah, the barnacle.
So
dishes.
I'm just gonna like preface this, like, I do not like the barnacle dishes. I think barnacles are like a pain to get.
Yeah.
This
absolutely not worth it.
This gives okay hunger, gives a little bit of health and sanity. The problem is you need 2 barnacles and 2 whole vegetables, so you can't make it off things like kelp and mushrooms. So you have to use like stuff like carrots or corn. So, even though it gives, like, decent hunger, I would put it in, like, D tier too.
Yeah, the spoilage time is not very good. A lot of vegetables last a pretty long time comparatively, so using it to make something like this, that it does fill you up pretty well, but you're not really going to be bringing vegetables onto the ship with you.
You're gonna be, like, harvesting kelp, or you're gonna be, like, you would want to bring, like, longer-lasting foods, like meat, onto the ship.
Yeah, like beef jerky or other recipes like bacon and eggs.
Yeah, what's this one? I think this is Barnacle Nigiri.
Yeah.
So,
Barnacle.
this is kind of supposed to be, like, the Barnacle, like, sea equivalent of pierogi, but I don't like it nearly as much as pierogi. It gives, like, decent healing and hunger. I think it actually has, like, the exact same stats as pierogi. But once again, like, barnacles are a major pain to get. Like, you have to, like, shave barnacles at night. And barnacles are already an extremely annoying mob to deal with. And you really don't want to be, like, sailing at night anyways. Just because it's, like, a liability. But I like this one comparatively more. Yeah, this needs, like, a barnacle, kelp, and an egg, which isn't too bad, but it's really just the barnacle cost that's, like, holding it back for me, but I think, I don't know, I would put it in C.
For me, I put it in D simply because there is one difference it has from pierogi besides the recipe. The spoilage time is twice as
Oh
fast.
yeah, true.
So even if you did want to mass produce these, the benefits you would get would not be the same as just making pierogi at home or at base rather.
And pierogi is way easier to make.
Yeah, pierogi is way easier. Like I don't know about you, but I don't want to be blasted by spiky balls from these horrific sea creatures just in order to get some health. Like
Yeah, no,
I'd rather just kill a rabbit or something.
they really suck. This one is Barnacle Pita. Pretty average stats, like pretty average stats. It's like 20 health. It's a standard like 37.5 hunger, 5 sanity. It's basically like one barnacle and half a vegetable, so it's like cheaper than barnacle linguine. But I'm gonna put it in D just because it's like a worse recipe and it requires barnacles.
Personally, I put it in C.
Really? Why?
I put it in C because even though it does require vegetables, the spoilage time is pretty large for most barnacle dishes. So if you did want to make these, you could if you really wanted to, and it wouldn't really be too big of a deal. You only get 20 health from them, but I think it would be just something that you could do. Like it's an option you have. It's not a very good option, but if you were just at C only, it would be something that you could do, and it wouldn't be the worst thing you could do with barnacles.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Still, I hate barnacles. Honestly, I'm actually just gonna put all these in D tier just because I hate barnacles.
Yeah, barnacles are not very... If you could get them in a different way than from what you can get them now, it would be a lot different, but the only way you can get them is just by growing into them by accident and get your boat blown up.
Yeah.
And it's not really worth that.
I think you can shave them at night too, but it's still not great. Let's see here. This is beefy greens, I think. Love this recipe.
Yeah, beefy greens. It's really good.
It's-
The one thing that's really good about it is that it costs only 3 vegetables on top of leafy meat. And the health is very good. The hunger is fantastic. 40 HP and 75 hunger. And the best part about it is that you can get leafy meat from planting lure plants onto a boat. And it makes it really easy to get multiple at a time. You can plant up to 6.
Yeah, and they won't spawn the eye traps.
Yeah, you'll be completely safe from them, and they'll still produce meat. It's not like in winter where there's no eyes or meat coming out.
Yeah, the only thing I think holding it back is the spoilage time is a little short, so when you make this, you're probably just gonna have to eat it, like, you're gonna have to eat it very quickly. But
Yeah,
I
it's
still think it's a
something that,
fantastic recipe.
It's something you can make if you're like just coming from base and you notice that you got some vegetables in your farm. You can just like,
Yeah.
I need some health. I'll just pop this in.
And as an aside, this is, even though it can be made with entirely like vegetable foods, like since it's a leafy meat dish, Wigfrid can eat it, which is nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You got Wigfrid being rewarded for being passive.
Nice. So I would put it in A tier.
I put it in A tier as well.
Let's see here. What's this next one? I think this is Bone Bouillon.
Yeah, bone bouillon.
I think the only thing going for this is it has a really good hunger value. Is this a Warley exclusive? I think this is a Warley exclusive.
Yeah, he's the only one that can put bone shards inside the portable crockpot.
So it's good for restoring hunger. Not much else.
Yeah, one thing that is decent about it is that it does require 2 inedibles. So if you wanted to use bone shards in order to make a food for yourself, it's not really something that you have to commit to. Like you can just have them laying around and
Yeah,
do
it's
whatever.
it's not one of those dishes where it's like you're gonna be. It's not gonna be a staple dish. Bone shards are pretty finite, anyways. Like once you destroy like all the skeletons in the desert, the only way you're getting more bone shards, I believe, is if you just have like players die.
Yeah, that's really the only way you'll be able to get them. And if you're killing yourself for food, that's kind of counterproductive.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really consider this something that you should be making often, but it's an option.
Yeah, no, but yeah, it's not awful for what it is. The health, it gives you like over 30 health, which isn't bad.
You
So
also need onions, which onions are a decent crop to have. They're not really the best,
they're good for a
but
few recipes that we'll
yeah,
be like bringing up later. So I think it belongs in C tier.
I put it in. Try to see here. Hold on. Let me check. I put it in lower B tier.
Yeah, you know what? That's fair. Let's see here. This is bunny stew, I think. So this dish kind of got rid of replaced one of the cheapest meatball recipes. Like you have to make this with a small meat and a couple ice. You can't make this with like a big meat. It has to be a small meat. This heats you up and recovers 20 health and very low hunger, I believe.
Yeah, the hunger stat is pretty low. It's oh no, it's actually not really that low.
Is it the standard for a 7.5?
Yeah, it's 37 and a half, which honestly is not too bad for just one small meat and 3 ice.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like a great recipe for like people early game who need to heal. Who like if you're kind of in that noob stage where you're still like catching rabbits, you know, there's worse things to make. Or I guess you can make it with like say bat wings or even like turkey legs, frog legs. There's a lot of options you can make with this.
Yeah, a lot of these aren't really bunnies, but they do the job just fine apparently.
Yeah, weirdly enough. But it's like there's better things you could use your meat for. The heating isn't really that great. Like most dishes that heat you up aren't great, but I think it's okay enough to put in C tier.
I put it in the top part of C tier as well.
Let's see here, butterfly muffin. This is okay. It just butterfly wings already heal you for like 8 each, I think, so it's not really that much of an improvement. It's kind of expensive. Like the amount of hunger you get off it like really isn't. I think you usually lose some hunger when you make this. It heals you like 20 health, so but I think it is like an okay like early game healing item. I would put it in like C tier.
Yeah, it is a good option if you only really have like one butter muffin and it turns night or dusk and you can't really get any more. If you need health, you can just pop in a carrot and a couple of twigs along with the butterfly muffin, and then you got 12 extra health.
Yeah,
But
if you
gotta
use
wait a little
twigs
bit
to make
for
it, that's a very good way to get more hunger out of it. I think this is WX's favorite food too, so it's even better on him.
Yeah, it heals it, or it satiates his hunger for 50 instead of 37 and a half.
But still, I think there's way better recipes you can make. So, just gonna keep it in C tier. What's this one? California rolls. So, ordinarily, I actually wouldn't say these are that bad, but the problem is they're severely outclassed by fish sticks. You have to make this with like 1 fish and like 2 kelp, and I think it only recovers like 20 health versus fish sticks 40. So, like, why would you ever make these? I would just put this in D tier, just because if you can make this, you can make much better dishes.
Yeah, the reason why it's really not that good is because by the time you're getting kelp and stuff, you're most likely already have access to other better dishes, even fish dishes themselves. Like, you could make surf and turf, and if you have a Warley on the server, you can make keiko, I think. And there's just many other options that are better. Even seafood gumbo is better.
Yeah, no, not really a fan of these guys. I used to be a fan of these guys, but when I just found out like what you could do with it, there's just much better dishes you can make.
Yeah, it's on its own. It's not really too bad.
It's just outclassed.
Yeah,
All right.
severely.
Ceviche. This is an F tier for me.
I put mine in like the bottom of D tier.
Nah. So the problem with ceviche is you actually need 2 whole fishes. So it can't be like 2 fishes, you just like fish from a pond, for example, because those only count as like half a fish. So for some reason, this dish that looks extremely small has this insane fish cost.
Yeah, you will always need at least 1 big fish, but even raw, you can eat 1 big fish and you get just as much hunger and health as you would normally. The only thing you're missing out on is the lower temperature for 10 seconds, which, that's gonna do you a lot
it's
of
really
good.
not great. Like, the only dish that, like, lowers your temperature, which I think is worthwhile, is, like, asparagus gazpacho. Because if you don't have, like, the requisite clothing, you're just gonna, like, get that heat back in 10 seconds anyways.
Yeah, and if your overheating issue is really that bad, just use a thermal stone or something.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
The foods are not going to be helping you unless you're eating them like every 10 seconds.
Yeah. Get yourself an umbrella, get yourself a thermal stone, don't rely on food to regulate your temperature.
So the next one is creamy potato puree.
Yep. This is,
This one,
You wanna go?
yeah. This one, personally, I really like it, but it's not very lucrative. If you're using it, you're missing out on health and hunger from cooked potatoes. But the thing I like about this specifically is, number one, the long spoilage time. It's 15 days, which is pretty good, especially for a sanity food. And it also restores every stat at a pretty even pace. It restores the average amount of health, the average amount of hunger, and really good on the sanity. So if you're wanting to regulate your sanity at sea or in the caves, you can carry just this. And if you have like a whole stack of it, you can save yourself from inventory space and make things a lot less of a hassle in that department. So that's why I personally enjoy using it, but I can see why others would not feel comfortable using it.
Yeah, the problem with this is, like, I think it requires like 2 potatoes to make. But it only recovers like 20 health. So you're kind of exchanging like 20 health for some sanity, which isn't always terrible. You're definitely losing a ton of hunger by making this. I think it's good for fights like the shadow chest pieces or fuel weaver, where you're gonna like want to have your health and your sanity topped up. But it's still, I think there's much better dishes you can make, but it's not horrible, just pretty outclassed. But I would put it in C tier.
I put it in C tier too. It's more of like a luxury if you're really, really good at farming.
Okay, dragon pie. So
Dragon pie.
so
Speaking of
before like
farming,
reap what you sow, I thought dragon pie was incredibly overrated just because it was like extremely inefficient to make. It took forever to get. But now that you can make tons of dragon fruit like in the summer and the spring too, I think it's just way easier to mass produce, and admittedly it does give fantastic stats. It's 75 hunger, 40 health.
Yep.
You can make it, the recipe, so it has extremely high priority in the crock pot, and it can be made so cheaply. You can make it with like 1 dragon fruit and like just a few twigs.
Yeah, and the twigs also helps it stay as fresh as it can, which also helps complement the above average spoilage time. So you can easily just plant a couple of dragon fruit, and every 2 dragon fruit you got a full day of hunger right there.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of it. Like, if you're speedrunning the game, obviously it's kind of a waste of time, but for most players, I think it's a very solid go-to recipe, so I would put it in A tier.
I'd put it in I put it in S tier because it's one of the easiest recipes, or not recipes, the easiest crop formations to learn. And if you're going to be farming in spring and summer, you're most likely going to be staying near base anyway. So if you're one of those players that like doesn't want to venture out too far, but you need like that extra boost in order, or that extra like incentive to want to be able to do it, you can just make yourself some dragon pie. It gives a lot of health, which will help with overheating damage and stuff.
Yeah, true. What's next? I think these are potato spirals. Well, these are bad. You lose a ton of hunger and healing by making these, and the only thing you get back in exchange is a very tiny amount of sanity. It's like, what is it, 15 sanity?
I think so. It's like, yeah, yeah, it's 15 sanity.
Yeah, so you're losing, like, cooked potatoes are already a fantastic dish, so this is just a waste of perfectly good potatoes. I would
Yeah.
put it, like, in D, maybe even F tier, honestly. It's such a waste.
I put in D tier as well, because who on earth is gonna have one potato? Like, if you're gonna be making this, it's most likely because you don't have that many food items. A cheap way to make this is with 2 twigs and 1 ice, which, if you're really, really desperate for sanity, I guess it could work, but it's not really that efficient. You could just kill a few shadow monsters for it. The low
There's
health
just
is
way...
also kicking the balls, really.
Yeah, there's so many good, like, much easier to obtain sanity recipes that we're going to be going over, like, later on, so it's just so painfully outclassed. I cannot, like, cannot recommend it.
Yeah, it's a waste of a potato.
Let's see, what's this one? I think this is the fig stuffed trunk. This is bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
here's a spoiler. Figs suck.
Figs are not very good for cooking. Even barnacles are somewhat better because they have some, like, not utility, but, like, it's something that you could do. But with figs, there's other uses for figs. Even if you're not Weber, who wants to make a bunch of spiders or sea striders to kill Crab King, you'd still want to keep figs around for if you want to make a less than average tree trunk or whatever that item is called.
Yeah, and for God knows like what reason, you actually lose hunger by making this, like versus just cooking the trunk. It actually does admittedly have good healing. It does heal for 60. Like a cooked trunk heals for 40, but it restores like less hunger.
Yeah, the cooked trunk restores more hunger, but less health. And personally, trunks aren't really something that you're going to be getting very often, since late game you probably got a pig farm going on or something.
Yeah,
but
there's tons of way to get meat.
And even if you are constantly going after koalefin trails, you're most likely going to end up with a Eucus or a Varg late game. So you won't really be getting trunks as often as you would early game, and figs you're not going to get early game unless you're like some weirdo that sails the entire world by day 10.
Yeah, I don't know what to say with this.
Even in that scenario, it will still not be worth it. So I'm going to put fig in F, or fig stuffed trunk in F tier.
I'm actually going to walk it back a little bit. I do like the healing just barely enough to put it in D tier, but that's just barely.
Yeah. Admittedly, mine is at the top of F, or at the higher end of F tier, but that's not really saying. That's not a compliment.
Let's see here. Do you know what this one is? Is this Figatoni, or is this...
Yeah, that's Figatoni.
So this is one of the better fig dishes, I think.
Yeah.
So Figatoni, you need 2 whole vegetables and a fig, which is somewhat limiting. But you could make it fairly easy enough. Like if you just did like 1 fig, 1 carrot, 2 kelp, 2 dried kelp fronds. It restores an okay amount of health. Does an okay amount of hunger, 56 hunger, which is kind of a weird number. You don't see that a lot with a lot of the crockpot dishes. Restores a little bit of sanity. I think it's just good enough to be like in C tier. It's very good on Wort because she gets the vegetable bonus. The only problem is it has a very bad spoilage time.
Yeah, the spoilage time is not really that good. It's 6 days, which is actually pitiful. And for me, Figatoni, it would be a very, very good late game dish if it wasn't such a hassle to get. It like, you have to go sailing, look for a big ass tree trunk. I forgot the name of it. You have to crash your boat into it and use boat patches on it. You gotta get a pinch winch from Pearl in order to get it. You gotta get another boat and put a pinch winch on it unless yours already has one, in which case, good for you. You're gonna be running into it and it's gonna block you from doing the things you gotta do on the boat. And then you gotta bring it all the way to base. And if you're lucky, you got a spot that you want the tree seed to be inside. And if not, you're gonna need to either A, waste half a day carrying it very slowly, or C, or not C, B, make a beefalo your friend temporarily so that you can carry it for like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
and then,
not a fan of
and
figs.
no, and then
Oh, there's more.
You gotta keep going. You gotta get more figs. You gotta get Glommer Goop. So if you miss Glommer and you didn't get much of him on midnight, you're screwed. Then you gotta slather it onto the thing, and then you gotta slather it again and keep an eye on it, and then slather it again, and then wait for the figs to grow, and there, now you have your consistent figs. It's such a huge ordeal.
It is such a pain in the ass.
It would be so good if it wasn't just like you have to do nuclear physics and calculus just to get it done. It's not very good. I put it at the bottom of B tier.
I'll put it in the higher end of C tier just because figs suck. Well, this is one of the worst recipes in the game. This is the Figgy Frog Witch.
The frig?
Look at,
Frig.
Figgy Frog Witch. Wow, this sucks. To give you a frame of reference of how much this sucks, it recovers 8 health, 18.75 hunger, and 10 sanity. That's laughable. There's like tons of vegetables that like restore more than that just on its own.
Yeah, definitely. Even like a carrot would restore just as much hunger, I believe.
Well, like literally a cooked potato beats this in every way except for sanity, I guess.
Yeah, and spoilage time technically, because the spoilage time is above average.
Yeah, but I mean, who cares with stats this trash?
Yeah, but you want to know another stat, or you want to know another cooked food that has the same spoilage time but better stats, except in the sanity department? Froggle Bunwich.
Yep, which we'll talk about later, and is way better.
Yeah.
Also, I want to just say, this isn't even, like, that cheap, because you still need, like, a fig and, like, a frog leg. You can make so many better dishes with, like, even one piece of meat.
Yeah, like, just replace the fig with a vegetable, and then you got something good.
Alright, last of the fig dishes. Finally.
Oh, God.
And this is fig kebab. So this is a very middling recipe. I think it's like 20 health, 25 hunger, 15 sanity. The thing is, it's just the same. It's the same problem as like a lot of these other dishes. It's just like painfully outclassed. Like, you know, you have a fig, you have a meat, and you have the twig, which does save you on some hunger. But the thing, when are you ever gonna make this?
I guess when you're doing like a challenge run or something. But...
Yeah, I guess 15-day spoilage time is okay, but otherwise it's just not a great dish to make.
Yeah, it's not too good. Like, if you want to use meat that badly, just make a drying rack and wait a couple days. Hopefully you're not in spring.
Yeah, you could just, you know, make jerky, make honey nuggets. So many better things you can do.
Yep.
What's this one? This is the Warley fish dish. I'm blanking on it.
It's fish cordon bleu.
Fish cordon bleu, yes. So this gives pretty bad stats, I believe, but it does give you wetness resistance, which can be good. Yeah, it's 20 health, 37.5 hunger. You lose sanity when you make it. But I could see a few instances where like being immune to wetness might be good. Like, say you want to take on like a boss, you want to fight a boss but still have like your headgear freed up.
Yeah, you want some head armor, you can just eat a froggy bowl of goodness, and then you won't get wet anymore.
It's a little I do think the recipe is very expensive for what it is, because you need a whole fish. So you need like 2 fishes and like 2 frog legs.
Yeah, just 2 pond fish and 2 frog legs. It's pretty cheap for how
You think it's
useful
cheap?
it
I
is.
think I'm just saying it's like, you can make 2 fish sticks with that.
Well, yeah, but like you wouldn't really make fish sticks in order to stay dry. Like the utility of fish cordon bleu is what makes it useful for me, because I think wetness is one of the more annoying things to deal with in the game, because like freezing by itself isn't really that bad.
I mean, you're not
But
gonna
if
use
you're
this as like to consistently like get away from wetness. You're just gonna make it if you have to do one specific activity where you cannot
Yeah.
be wet.
yeah,
Like,
say
you're
if you
kill
want
like
to
maybe you
kill,
want to kill like bee queen in the spring, kill dragonfly, and you just can't be
Yeah.
like messing around with headgear.
yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a good thing to use if you're using it with another one of Marley's specific dishes, which we'll get to later on. But it can also be good for if you just want to kill a ton of moose goose for weather panes, or for one of those like lures.
Yeah, the Mooslings like start thunderstorms, I believe. So
Yeah, and they get you pretty wet. They're
yeah,
easy to take care of, but taking care of moose goose herself, it can be challenging if it's raining and stuff, and you're
'cause
always
she's gonna be constantly knocking your weapon out of your hand, then you're gonna be dropping it. It can just take forever.
yeah, it wastes a ton of time. But with the first cordon bleu, you don't got to worry about that.
Yeah, not bad, but C tier for me.
I put it in B just because of how cheap it is.
I'll put it in
honestly.
high C, but still not. Still think there's better options, better recipes to make. I mean, there's nothing else that can like give you wetness resistance, but I just think like getting wetness resistance from food is already fairly niche, anyways.
That's fair.
Okay, what's next? Fish tacos, outclassed. Exact same thing about the California rolls. Worse than fish sticks. It just needs corn. I don't know
Yeah,
like when you're going to have corn, but you're not going to have twigs to make fish sticks. So what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, even though corn is one of the more abundant fruits or crop sources, even if corn is one of the more abundant food sources in the game, if you're using crops and such, you wouldn't really want to use it specifically for tacos. You would use it in other recipes that require vegetables. So you wouldn't really waste it on something like this. If
Yeah,
you want to make some fish, you just make fish sticks. If you want to make something with corn, just make it a recipe that requires a lot of vegetables in it.
Plus, I can think of one recipe that's definitely better than this that we'll talk about later on, which you need corn for.
Yes.
Okay, now I can finally shut up about fish sticks. Fish sticks. Honestly,
Fish sticks are
I'm
a
like
very good
hovering
meal.
between A or S tier. Just it's extremely cheap to make. It recovers a ton of health because it just needs 1 fish, 1 twig, 2 filler, and the only weakness is it just has a somewhat short spoilage time.
Yeah, the spoilage time is average, which it's not. I wouldn't say that it's too bad. It doesn't hamper it too much, because I feel like you would mostly make fish sticks in the early game, or if you're an inexperienced player and you don't feel comfortable kiting enemies and fighting things, you can just fish for a couple days, and you can have a good supply of fish in your chest or your fridge or whatever you might have. So it's a good meal to have because it restores quite a lot of health. The hunger restoration is not too bad either. And the way to cook it is pretty cheap.
Yeah,
So I put it in,
I'm definitely a fan of it. I'm putting him in A tier.
I put them in the lower end of B tier simply because, or not the lower end of B tier,
Higher end,
but
you
it's in
mean?
B tier. Yeah, the higher end of B tier.
I'm gonna
Because
disagree with you. I think it's A tier, but go ahead.
The reason why I put it in B tier is because there are fish dishes that are better than fish sticks, and they're in late game. Fish sticks are great early game, but a lot of early game dishes you won't really be repeating because you'll have access to better things, which you'll need to in order to do harder challenges as it goes on. So that's why I put it in B tier. It's great, but I think it falters, or it gets outclassed itself in later game, which is kind of ironic because it just outclassed a bunch of other things by being the thing that exists.
Okay, what's next? This is Fistful of Jam. So this
Yep.
is like a super mediocre recipe you make when you just have a bunch of like berries there about to spoil and you don't feel like cooking all of them. It gives very like middling stats. It just gives you a little bit of hunger, you know, the standard 5 sanity. Doesn't gives you like no healing.
Yeah, this recipe, there's only one real use of it, and it's to keep the berries that you picked fresh. Like, let's say you picked a bunch of berries and you don't have enough berries to use as filler for other recipes anymore. You don't have other ingredients. You can make a ton of Fistful of Jam, and it'll be decent hunger fulfilling because it's got 15-day spoilage time, which is above average, I feel. But other than that, you're really not going to be wanting to make it.
Yeah,
It's
I
basically
I would not
suffering
make this
from- that's
recipe.
good.
Like I'm gonna put it in D tier. I think.
I put it in D tier too. It's up there on D tier, but not very much.
Yeah. Flour salad. I like this. It recovers a ton of health. Doesn't recover like too much hunger or sanity. It's very easy to make because all you have to do is like harvest 2 cactuses in the summer to make it, which definitely gives you the health right back. The thing is, the problem is you can only make it one season out of the year, and there's only you go, and also one to 2 deserts is gonna have a sandstorm anyway, so that makes it harder to get the cactus flowers you need to make this. As a quick aside, you also need like cactus flowers for pearl, so that also limits it in at least your first season. But I think it's okay. I like it a lot actually. I would put it in B tier. Just
I
because
put
it's a good recipe, but there's a lot of limiting factors.
I put it in C tier because it's something that you're not really going to be going out of your way to make. Because the reason why is this, like, you need health, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't really want to sacrifice that health getting the ingredient that you need. It's like if you were purposefully getting hurt by animals that you want to kill in order to get meat so that you can make pierogi. Like, it kind of doesn't really make sense like that. Sure, you can put armor to mitigate it, but then you're just kind of wasting pigskin and
I think
other
that's just a waste
resources
of
that you
armor,
could have.
honestly.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing a character like Wartox, who already has like a ton of health, or Wanza, who has a natural health regen from her watches.
You can also play as Wormwood, or you can have a Wormwood buddy,
Yep, give
and
you
they
the
can
armor.
make you, they can make you armor that makes you immune to it, which would be pretty good. But even then, the really, really bad spoilage time on the cactus flower itself does not pair well with the low spoilage time that the flower salad has. So it's not really something that you're going to be carrying around for health.
Yeah, I think I like it, but I will admit it's pretty niche. Let's see here. This is fresh fruit crepes.
Another Warley specific dish.
I like these a lot, actually. I'm just gonna check the stats real quick.
Stats on it are amazing.
Yeah, they have fantastic stats. I think this is one of the most powerful dishes in the game. Yep, it's 60 health, it's 150 hunger, 15 insanity. So the hunger, that's pretty much like a full hunger restore.
Yeah, that's 2 full days.
That's 2 full days of hunger. The health is fantastic. This is basically what Waffles wishes it was.
Yeah, it's basically waffles, but if you got a Warley, you would just rather make this if you were going to make one or the other.
Yeah, not too expensive, I would say. Well, actually, there is one thing I don't like about it. You do need like a big fruit, and big fruit in this game is somewhat hard to come by. So you're gonna need like a durian, you're gonna need a banana, you're gonna need a pomegranate, something like that, which you're usually not gonna want farm.
Yeah,
So
there's other foods or there's other crops that are more worthwhile farming. You wouldn't really waste it
yeah,
on.
honestly, that's so big for me. I'm actually gonna drop it down to B, just because when are you ever gonna have a whole fruit?
I personally put it in C just because on top of the fruit,
You do need a
there's
butter,
also
which
the
is
fact,
rare, very
yeah,
rare.
there's also the fact that you need butter. And if you're killing a bunch of butterflies and then you end up getting a butter, the health is kind of redundant because like unless you're really super lucky, you're gonna have like a ton of butterfly wings, and those would just heal you up just as fine. So this dish is not bad, but it's really redundant. It's something that you would only make if you just happen to have the butter, rather than something that you would
Yeah,
want to
it's an incidental
consistently
dish.
go
It's not
for.
something you're gonna play to get.
Yeah, it's not a dish that you can make consistent use out of. Like you're not gonna be seeing it too often. So that's why I put it in C.
All right. Froggle Bunwich. So, raise your hands if you've done this, guys. You tried to make meatballs with frog legs, but you accidentally made this.
I hate frogs, so I'm not raising my hand right now. I don't like messing with them, but
But no, so actually, so instead of meatballs, it gives a little bit of hunger. I think it gives a standard amount of hunger, 37.5 hunger, and it gives you a decent amount of healing. So if you make this out of, say, frog legs and kelp fronds, I would say it's a pretty decent healing recipe. It way better than the figgy frog witch.
yeah, absolutely. The spoilage time on it is 15 days, which is pretty good. It's very cheap to make. It only costs one frog leg and a vegetable, and then the rest you can just use for twigs. It's pretty good based on that alone. So if you ended up getting frog legs because moose goose got messed with or something, you can just pick those up, and it's a decent meal that you can make once you get it at base.
Okay, this is a new dish, I think, from the latest update. This is banana daiquiri.
Yep, daiquiri.
This, oh yeah, this is basically, you basically make this the same way as a banana pop, just without the twig. And the different, I think it basically has inverted stats from the banana pop. It's just, it gives more health than sanity.
Yep.
Um, I would actually say this is probably better than the banana pop, but still, when are you gonna make this?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's just the same as banana pop because it suffers similar issues and it does similar things, and it's made in a similar way. You just take the
Yeah,
stick out of it and mush the banana.
everything we complained about, like banana pops, like you can just say the same thing about this. It's just like, it's not even horrible. Just when are you gonna make this? It's a waste. It's just not a good idea to make this.
It's not something that you want to go after. It's something that you shouldn't really be running
Yeah.
into.
Fruit medley, bad. So
It's very bad.
it actually gives a decent. I think you get like 20 health from it, which isn't horrible in theory. But oh my god, this recipe is expensive.
Yeah,
Like
it
you need a
requires
ton of fruit, which is not easy to come by.
yeah, you need fruit, and even if you got something like unless you have like durian or something, which I don't know why you got a ton of durian, but let's say you have that. You could use it to make a fruit medley, but you can't use too many of it because it might end up as monster lasagna.
Yeah, exactly. So you're gonna have to like do like maybe one durian, one pomegranate, two berries. But the problem with that is that's actually like a 50% chance of getting fistful of jam, because I think they share priority, like those recipes. So if you want to avoid that, you have to use 3 big fruits and you have to use a twig to block fistful of jam from being made.
Yeah,
And
like
stats it gives you are like not that great. Like the healing is okay, 20 health, big deal. You get 25 hunger, which is very below average. 5 sanity, you know, nothing remarkable. I think it's like D. I'm like leaning towards F tier, but I think it's like near the bottom of D tier.
yeah, put it in I put it in D tier as well because it's just a waste, honestly. Like just eat the fruit. Like if you got pomegranate, you can just eat that cooked, or if you got watermelon, you can make it into a different recipe.
Yeah. Also, like, also all these dishes that, oh, just use, like, dragon fruit. Like, first of all, dragon pie is better, and has higher priority.
Yeah, and it's a lot cheaper to make.
Yeah. So, very trash recipe, D tier. This is glowberry mousse. So, I mean, Warley is not a ruins rusher, but to be fair, this actually is a good dish for keeping you, like, illuminated. I think you get you get a solid day and a half, I think, of light from this, which is very good.
You get 2 days of
Oh,
light
really?
from it. Yeah, it's just the light kind of gets really small at that point. It's just enough to save you from Charlie. It's not enough to really see anything
Yeah.
past like
The
day
stats aren't
mark.
great, it's just like 10 sanity, the same standard hunger.
Yeah, but the utility of it is not too bad.
Yeah.
Like if you weren't WX ruins rushing, you could use it for when you want to get into a fight, but you for some reason don't want to drop your lantern, or you want to have the utility of the light being on you at all times in case like a stupid ass blue monkey steals your light.
The only thing I
could
do
use
have
for
to
that.
say is, like, you can just straight up, like, eat glowberries or, like, lesser glowberries to get that light. The thing is, this does save you from losing sanity, which actually admittedly is a huge issue in the caves. Like, you don't want to be constantly eating glowberries and, like, just whittling your sanity more and more down.
Yeah, like you don't want to be fighting shadow monsters on top of all the other things that you got to fight in the
Yeah,
ruins.
there's a lot of things trying to kill you there, so
Like imagine fighting a bishop and two terror beaks.
yeah, that sounds
That's not a
horrible.
fun time.
And you're not, and you have to worry about light too.
Yep.
So I would put this at, like, the top of C tier, honestly.
For me personally, I put it at the bottom of A tier simply because
Really?
it only costs 4 lesser glowberries to use it.
Yeah,
So
no,
you
that
could
is
just-
very nice and cheap.
Yeah, you could just use a bunch of those.
This would easily be an A tier for me if it wasn't a Warley exclusive. That's, like, the big limiting thing for me, because he's not a good character to exploit ruins with. Like, I would not ruins rush with him.
Yeah, absolutely not. You would have to make like bandages or whatever to keep him healthy without having him complain about eating the same thing over and over.
Yeah, he's like, he's about to die, and he's just like, nope, I'm too good for this. I can't,
Yeah, his body just denies the nutrients.
I can't eat pierogi twice.
But yeah, for other players, I think it's a good dish. For Warley, it's not very good.
Yeah, so I'll put it in B tier. This is Grim Galette. The gimmick of this is it just swaps your hunger and your health and sanity. My bad.
Yeah,
Well, this is
the
kind of
the
dumb.
value of health and the value of sanity that you have gets swapped around if you eat this thing. So if you got low sanity and high health, you'll eat it, and your sanity will be high, but your health will be low.
This doesn't solve any problem. You just exchanged one problem for another problem.
Yeah, like I can see it being used for if you wanted to go insane pretty quickly, but there are a million better ways to go insane very quickly and safely. And that is just not safe at all, because purposefully getting your health low, that's just not good. This is really just more of like a party trick of a recipe than something that you would want to eat if you're trying to survive in the wilderness. So I put it in D tier.
Also, honestly, I'm like leaning towards even F tier, but very low D tier, because keep in mind, this dish is expensive. Like, really
Very.
expensive. Like, you need two nightmare fuel, a potato, and an onion. Like, that's just crazy expensive for what it's worth.
Yeah, like if you're gonna be eating this for health, just eat the potato.
Yeah,
cooked.
eat the potato. Use your nightmare fuel to, like, make actually useful things. There's just so much better things you could use.
Yeah, it's a gimmicky thing. Gimmicky Grim Galette.
Yes, sir. Guacamole, I hate it. F tier.
It's horrible.
It's
F tier
so
for me
bad.
too.
So the problem with guacamole is you need a live mole worm, which you can only get by hammering a mole worm. You can't just kill it, because you'll just get a morsel. You need a cactus flesh. Hurt yourself doing that. It's not a big deal, but it's still annoying. Or you have to get
you need
or you have to get stone fruit, which you have to get from the lunar islands. And for all the trouble you have to go through like several different biomes to get this dish. And for all your trouble, you get 20 health.
and average hunger fulfillment. The spoilers time is also average. Like, really, it's no surprise that this is an F tier because you can use a live moleworm to make other things that technically aren't really food related. But if you did want to make it for food, you could just kill the moleworm in your inventory. And then you can get some meatballs out of that, or at least a rabbit or bunny stew.
It also doesn't even restore sanity for God knows what reason.
Probably because you're eating a live moleworm, or not really alive, but it was cooked alive.
Well, no, if you actually like look at the sprite, like look, you can see its hands.
Oh yeah, but like it's probably
Yeah,
dead.
no, it's dead. Like, but yeah, I really hate this recipe. And keep in mind, if you make, you know, say honey nuggets, you get all the same stats. It's way less of a pain in the ass to make, and you get like a little bit of sanity for your trouble.
Yeah, and it doesn't need, and the thing that you want to cook doesn't need to be alive and take up inventory space.
Yeah, you can't even stack moleworms. Like, if you're gonna be hammering moleworms, like, just make moggles.
Or a rain hat at the very least.
Okay. Hate that recipe. Honey ham. Honestly, I love this dish. I think this might be our first S tier. It's very easy to make. You know, you can just make it with 1 big meat, 1 monster meat, 2 honey. It recovers a ton of health, a ton of hunger, lasts for a long time. It's basically everything you want in a crock pot dish.
Yep. It's got above average spoilage time, and it's very easy to make. The only thing you need is some good meat value. You only need 1 honey to make it, so you can use 1 honey and 1 filler and 1 big meat and 1 monster meat, or you could take 2 smaller meats and then 1 big meat and then honey, and then you got yourself some honey ham right there.
But yeah, I think it's a fantastic recipe, and I would put it in S tier.
I put it at the very, very top of A tier, simply because I think it's great. But for me personally, I think pierogi is just a bit better because it heals, or not pierogi, dragon pie. Dragon pie is a bit better because it's way cheaper to make, and it restores more health. And it also has the shorter eating animation, while honey ham has the longer eating animation. So honey ham has like 1 issue if you're trying to use it for health.
Yeah, if you're doing it like
really
in a boss fight, for example, like you're gonna be stuck for like a whole 1.5 seconds, I think, or 2 seconds to eat it.
Yeah, it's very, very obnoxious. The dragon pie does not have that issue. That's another reason why dragon pie is S tier.
Okay, honey nuggets. So I'm leaning towards top of B tier, like bottom of A tier, honestly. This dish is so easy to make. It lasts for a fairly long time. It recovers a good amount of health and hunger. Well, it has a standard hunger. It has a standard hunger, you know, 37 hunger. And it recovers 20 health. So you can make this with pretty much, you can make this with any meat in the game and just a bunch of honey. So 1 morsel, free honey, 1 frog leg, a few honey, 1 monster meat, a few honey. It's not even that good, it's just so easy to make. Like that's an important thing to note. Like, even if there's like technically better recipes, if you can just make a recipe en masse that's useful, like that puts it very high in my book.
And same here.
So I'm gonna put it in A tier.
Yeah, it's very replicable, and if you're playing as Woody, it's really good. You only need 3 of these, and then your hunger is full after you get done transforming from whatever beast you were. So it's pretty good and pretty cheap, especially for Woody. So I put it in B tier.
Would you put it at the top of B tier, or just...
Pretty much anywhere in B tier. Maybe like top
I would put it above Froggle Bun, which is, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
and like, yeah. let's see here. This is dragon. What is this? Dragon chili?
It's called, let me see. It's called Hot Dragon Chili Salad.
This is a waste. This is a D tier for me. You get very bad stats from this. You have to waste a dragon fruit to make this. I believe it's a Warley exclusive too.
Yeah, it's Warley exclusive. And the issue with that is it's pretty wasteful because you're wasting a dragon fruit and a pepper, which can be used. And since this is a Warley exclusive dish, you have no reason to make this.
Yeah, if you're playing Warley, make
powder.
seasoning with your peppers.
Yeah, make chili powder and apply it to a better crockpot dish. Don't just make it into one by itself. It does stop you from freezing, but like we said earlier, freezing is not really as much of a hassle to
just
deal with.
set a tree on fire, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, overheating and being wet are way more finicky to deal with.
Yeah,
freezing
honestly, I think this is an F tier just because of how wasteful it is. Like,
yeah,
it's just so
wasteful.
waste. Every single ingredient you use to make this can be just like appropriate for a better use. So I'm gonna put it in F tier.
I put it in bottom of D tier because like it still has a use. It's not completely worthless. It's just wasteful, but like it still has a use that you can make out of it.
Yeah, true. I hear that. Let's see here. Ice cream. Well, this is a fun dish. So you can only make this with butter, or you could get an electrocuted Volt Goat. Either way, it's not really like something you would do consistently. Like it's just like a random treat when you get it. I think this gives you just like a little bit of hunger, and it gives you a ton of sanity. I think it gives you 60 sanity, which is very good actually.
Gives you 50.
50 sanity. But the thing is, it's just like so. It's just not easy to make. And there is a recipe we're going to be talking about later on, which you can use butter for, which is way better. So, yeah. I don't know, I think the spoilage time is pretty bad too, so you have to like eat it when you make it.
Yeah, the spoilage time for a sanity food item is very important because if a food item goes stale, it does not restore sanity anymore. So effectively,
yeah, it becomes useless.
Yeah, it's something that you gotta eat right away, which at the end of the day, if like it's something that you can make, like if you get the ingredient that ice cream needs and you got ice and a honey inside your base, you could make it and it could restore your sanity pretty quickly if your sanity is like middling but not quite like down. If you want to just make it really quickly to get it back up without having to do other stuff, it's there as an option.
Yeah,
it's just not something that you do consistently. Like
I would
you
put it
not
at like
make
the
a ton of
bottom
ice cream.
C tier, honestly.
I put it in the same spot.
Cool. Jelly salad. This is everything in Ice Cream wishes it was. I think it gives basically the same or even better stats than ice cream. And it's I think it's 2 leafy meat and 2 honey to make this.
Yeah, jelly salad is just better ice cream. It's less expensive. It's a lot easier to get. And the spoilage time isn't as bad either, so...
Yeah, I like it a lot more.
I
would put this in like the top of B tier.
I put it in B tier as well.
Jelly beans, S tier, easily.
Yep. It is one of the greatest food items in the game. Now, granted, if you're not really used to killing Bee Queen, it's not really going to be something that you will go for, but like even if you do, or if you do kill Bee Queen, it's one of the best crockpot dishes in the entire game because there are 4 reasons why. Reason number 1, it does not spoil. Reason number 2, it's very, very lucrative to make. If you make it, you get 3 instead of 1. Reason number 3, it heals you over time, which might not really seem like really that good at first, but if you're fighting something and if you're fighting a boss, you gotta be really active, and you can effectively heal without having to do anything. So it's very, very useful for that reason. And the fourth reason is that, actually no, there was only 3 reasons. My bad.
well, you gotta mention that Warley can like spice them.
Oh yeah, that too.
That's actually extremely important. Like if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to play Warley but take advantage of its spices, there's only 2 dishes you can make that truly take advantage of that. And jelly beans are by far the better of the 2.
Yeah, well, if you're using it for just one spice, I would say it's good, but if you want to have access to multiple spices, I think powder cake is something that you would also have to make.
But the thing is like, like this is the if you want to eat like just some chili flaked jelly beans, that's like an excellent start to any boss fight.
Yeah, precisely.
But yeah, regardless, we're in agreement. Easy S tier. Okay.
Very S tier for me too.
Where are we? Kebabs. D tier.
Yep. As Maxwell and Wilson demonstrated in the comics, kebabs are what happens when you don't know how to use the crockpot effectively. You don't really know what to do. So you really should not be making this. Just take the stick out and you might get some meatballs instead, which is just a way better dish.
Yeah, it just so much better uses of meat. So many better uses of meat. I don't know what to say. It's a bad recipe.
Yeah, the spoilers time is pretty good, but other than that, it's pretty inefficient. Just don't make these.
Okay, leafy meatloaf. So this is one of those punishing recipes where if you make it, like, clearly the game's trying to tell you you did something wrong. It just gives you very mediocre stats, and the ingredients you use to make it can be better used elsewhere. I'm leaning towards F. I'm leaning towards the bottom of D tier or even F. It's like, I don't understand when you're ever supposed to make this. Like, it should be in the same vein as, like, you know, Monster Lasagna. But I guess it doesn't hurt you as explicitly as Monster Lasagna. It's just a waste of ingredients.
Yeah, it's something that could be made into something that's, like, better. There is one thing about leafy meatloaf that is good, and that's the spoilers time. It's 20 days, which is the same as bacon and eggs and pierogi.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, just make, you know, beefy greens.
Yeah, beefy greens are just something it's something that you would make.
Make beefy greens or make jelly salad. Don't make this.
Yep.
Okay, this is mandrake soup. So, mandrake soup is arguably the best recipe in the game in terms of stats.
Yep.
The problem is you need a mandrake to make it, which are extremely rare and are probably better used to make pan flutes with. The thing is, though, you can always use deconstruction staves on pan flutes when they get down to, like, say, 10%. You do get a mandrake every year if you fight Klaus. I think you get a mandrake as a guaranteed prize from one of the loot.
No, it's not guaranteed.
Isn't it like a 50% chance or something like that?
I don't know the exact percentile, but it is absolutely not guaranteed, I'll tell you that. The only time you get a guaranteed pan flute is from Glommer statue. That's it.
So yeah, I mean, I think you should probably just use, the stats you get are admittedly fantastic. You can make this out of literally anything, I believe. I think Mandrake Soup has very high priority, so you can even make it with monster meat. Don't quote me on that, though.
Yeah.
But I would put it in, like, you know, I would put it in, like, say, middle, highish of C tier.
It's tricky to rate an item like this because it's not something that you will make consistently.
No, you don't want to make it, but if you had to make it, like, you should make it.
Yeah. Like, if you're about to die, and the only way you could be saved is by Mandrake Soup, I don't know if that's really, like, the game just trying to help you get a second chance, or if that's, like, trying to put a little piece of tape over a sheep or a ship leak. Like, you wouldn't... If you know how to use mandrakes to make pan flutes, just do that instead. Like, don't rely on Mandrake Soup, but if you had to make it, it can basically give you a second chance without dying first.
Yeah, I just realized the only problem with this is it just gives a standard 5 sanity, so that's kind of a problem. It wants if you have like say really low health from nightmare creatures, it's not going to save you from that. If you're the kind of person who struggles with nightmare creatures.
Yeah, it's just delaying the inevitable, really.
Yeah. Well, everyone and their mom knows how to make this one. Meatballs, S tier.
Yep, it's pretty much the mascot of crockpot recipes in this game. Everybody knows how to make them, and everybody makes them if they got a crockpot.
Yeah, doesn't really give you a lot. Doesn't give you a lot of hunger. I mean, it does give you a lot of hunger. It doesn't give you a lot of health. Doesn't give you a lot of sanity. But in terms of hunger, it really can't be beat. You can make it out of literally anything, as long as you're not using twigs. It's just fantastic for hunger.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say. It's just great for that.
Yeah, it's extremely cheap. It's something that you can just make very quickly. So if you're like starving to death and you want to make something very quickly in the crock pot, you can just do that. And it has -1 priority for some reason. I don't know what that means specifically, but it's very, very efficient to make. Just 1 monster meat and 3 ices, and you're set. That's
Literally,
like,
the only weakness is I think the spoilage time is a little below average. I think it's like maybe 10 days. Is it 10 or 12 days?
it's 10 days. So you wouldn't really want to mass produce these. These aren't something that you make a lot of. Like I see many new players do. It's
yeah,
not
you
something
don't
that
make
you're
10
gonna be making.
meatballs and like decide to like go on a 20-day expedition.
Yeah, just don't do that. They'll be stale by the time you get to like the 5th one, and it's just not something you really want to partake in.
Yeah, but still, it's just so convenient and so easy to make. I gotta put it in S tier.
I put an S tier as well.
Okay, meaty stew. So this is the king of hunger recipes. I think I'd put it in lower A tier.
I put mine in B tier just because of how expensive it is.
Definitely lower A tier. It's very expensive. You do need like, can you make it with 1 monster meat, 1 big meat, and 2 morsels, or do you need like more than that?
I think that's a recipe that can work.
Yeah, no, I think that's like the best thing you can do to make this dish. It gives you like a ton of hunger. That's pretty much it. And sometimes that's just all. That's pretty much all you need.
It's good for what it does.
It's good for what it does. If you need hunger, you should make this dish. Really good on, say, Wolfgang. Kind of I think it's actually inefficient if you play Wigfrid.
Yeah, you lose out on 30 hunger, I think. And another thing is that the spoiler time is also average.
Yeah,
so you
it's
can't,
pretty bad.
So if you would like to, you can make it a little bit ahead of time. Like say if you're a wooden, you're going to transform and for some reason you don't have access to honey. You could just make that instead and you just got to eat something once and your hunger's back to full.
Okay, next is Melonsicle. And this is basically the same thing as a banana pop, it's just more viable to make. I think it has very similar stats. I think it gives like maybe a little bit less sanity.
Yeah, it gives less sanity and let me check. I think less hunger. No, the same hunger actually, but less health.
So you lose hunger if you make this, but it's a good sanity item. If you're doing farming in summer and you decide to like make some watermelons, I could see that there's like worse things you can make than this.
Yeah, if you got melons, the rest of the ingredients are reliable to get, and I would say that if you wanted to make it, you could for sanity. It's a lot better than making the melon into something that you wear on your head to keep cool.
Yeah, that's really not a good idea.
Yeah,
But I would put it like lower ends of C tier.
I put it in C tier as well.
Okay, I think this is called the Milkmaid hat.
Yep.
And I think we're in agreement.
Guys
This is by far the worst recipe in the game.
I would not say the absolute worst recipe in the game, but it is really like you could. I know it looks weird, but you can't eat it. You gotta wear it on your head.
Yeah, it's basically like one of those like party hats where instead of soda or beer, it's milk.
Yeah, drinking milk through a straw. That sounds like a great time.
Yeah.
The real issue is that it requires things from all different parts of the world. It requires something that you can only get in caves.
You need a pig snout from the Lunar Grotto.
Yeah.
You need
and
kelp from the Lunar Islands, or, you know, just from the ocean.
Yeah, and you need a dairy product,
Which is rare.
Yeah, relatively rare.
You just have to go through so much shit to make this, and the only thing you get is you get a hat which restores hunger over time, and you lose sanity. A lot of sanity, like minus 10 per minute.
You do gain quite a bit of hunger, but the issue is you're sacrificing your headgear for hunger when you could just right-click on something and get rid of it, get rid of that issue instantly. Like, why would you waste your time doing that?
Like, I'm trying to think when this would be useful. Like, what, toast? No, there's no scenario where you need. There's no scenario where you need hunger over time. There's no scenario in the game where you benefit from having low hunger.
If this was like pre-patch Wolfgang, I would say there's like one niche use, but since it doesn't work like that anymore, there is no niche use. There's no reason to make this and no reason to partake in it.
Yeah, I'm putting that in F tier. Easy.
I put an F tier too. You only make it for the memes.
Yeah. Monster Lasagna and Monster Tartare, I think we can just rank these together. Monster Tartare is like pretty much the exact same thing, except it's a Warley exclusive dish.
Well, it's not the exact same thing.
But they're just like both trash recipes you get for using too much monster meat.
Yeah, they're both bad.
So this is
Monster Tartare.
Yeah, go ahead.
Monster Tartare does have one thing over it. It has a higher hunger value. So if you somehow wanted to get Woby, Walter's little doggy pet, instantly transformed instead of having to waste time feeding it 2 or 3 times, you have that. But it's not enough to warrant it being any higher than F tier.
Yeah, it's
and
super
Monster Lasagna, yeah. That, like, Monster Lasagna is worse because it doesn't even have that. It can't do the one thing that Monster Tartare does. And in every conceivable way, it is less useful than Monster Meat. The pigs don't instantly transform into were-pigs. The Pig King only gives you 1 gold, just like how he does with an egg, which you can get from all Monster Meat now. Thank God they patched that. And it just does not work for any reason. It does not work extra above Monster Meat.
Yeah, but so both of these are basically recipes that punish you for like using too much monster meat. They both hurt you a ton. Never make these. I don't know, F tier, both of them.
Yeah, even Weber gets less hunger than he would if he just ate 4 cooked monster meat. So just do that. Just cook it instead and eat it. Or jerkify it.
Exactly. Alright, I'm hoping I can pronounce this next one correctly. Makeka.
Makeka.
Very good dish. Pretty specific to make, but the stats it gives you are fantastic. Gives you 112 hunger, 60 health, very free sanity. That's a fantastic spread of stats. The only problem is it does have a below average spoilage time of 8 days. And the ingredients,
a little bit below average.
The ingredients you need, it does require pretty specific ingredients. You do need an onion, a tomato, and a fish, which might not always be easy to get, like, throughout the year. But when you can make it, I think it's a very good recipe to go to if you have a Warley in your team.
Yeah, I think it's one of the better Warley-specific dishes based on the stats alone. Because if you're a Warley, or if there's a Warley on a server, you're going to be doing a lot of farming anyway. So, if this is an option on the table, or if you have one in table, make it base or whatever, if there is something that you can do, you can always just get a fish and then put it inside a fish. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that name. A tin fishing bin, and you can keep the fish fresh forever. You can only store 12 of them in there, but that's 12 Makeka. And imagine having 12 of those. That's really, really good.
Yeah, so this is an easy A tier for me.
I think it's A tier as well.
Big fan of this. Let's see here. This is mush cake. I don't get this. So the way you make this is you need one of every mushroom. You need red, blue, green, and lunar mushrooms to make this. It gives very minor stats. It gives you 25 hunger, 10 sanity, no health. And the gimmick is it gives you sleep resistance for half a minute. Now, my problem is, when are you ever going to have to deal with, like, sleep being a problem? Like, I guess this is to deal with Gestalts. But
Yep.
half a minute of like, you know, being left alone by Gestalts isn't a big... Like, I don't know. Maybe this would be useful for, say, the Lunar Guardian.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a very specific recipe, and it's something that you'll only make in one biome. And even though it does have a use that is there, it's just not really a good one.
It's
Like,
not
you can
even one
easily
biome. You have to, like, bring the like, say you're making this in the caves, you have to go from all the different forests to make it, which are not
Yeah.
are not always, like, adjacent to each other. And you can't, like,
Yeah.
farm these above ground. So the only way you would consistently make these is if you had, like, mushroom farms, which are very trash as, like, a food source. Because they require living logs, and the only way, like, you're really going to get that many living logs is if you have, like, a wormwood on your team.
or if you just kill a bunch of things in the Lunar Grotto.
True. But still, mushroom farms are not, like, my favorite kind of farm to use, so... And once again, it's a very niche use, so I would put this in, like, D tier.
I put it in D tier too.
Alright, Pierogi. Arguably the best recipe in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally the whole package. It gives good health, good hunger, and even if it's like, you know, a little bit of sanity, even if it doesn't do like any one of those like things perfectly, it's just so easy to make. You can make it en masse. It lasts for a long time. It's just the whole package.
Yep. The spoilage time is very good. The health hunger value is very good. It's very cheap to make. And overall, it's really just... The only reason you wouldn't make this is if you're Wirt or Wanda. Those are the only reasons why you wouldn't make this. Or if you're Wartox as well. And maybe Weber with Nurse Spiders. But other than that...
For every standard character, it's an excellent choice.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're in agreement. S tier, maybe the best in the game.
Yep.
Powder Cake. So, if Warley, like, didn't have jelly beans, I would actually argue this could be, like, B or even A. But the only niche so this has two major niches. So, first of all, this is not a food item. You don't use this for food. You use this to get Warley spices, or you use it to make traps. And both of those are actually legitimate uses, but, like, this has no nutritional value.
Yeah, and all it does is take away 3 health. That's it.
Yeah, so don't make this for, like, food. You have to use it for, like, utility purposes. So if you want to get two... So I think the only really useful spice from Warley is the chili flakes, because it gives you a damage bonus. The rest of them, like salt, garlic, honey crystals are okay, I guess. But
Yeah.
but if you want extra damage and extra damage resistance, you know, pop a jelly bean, pop a powder cake. You can do that. You can make some traps, you know, like a pig trap, although you could just use pig skin. I'm kind of blanking off the top of my head, but there are traps that you could use powder cakes for. So just because the utility, it's also not too bad to make. It's 1 corn, 1 honey, 1 twig, and 1 filler.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's not
it's
too expensive.
You can make it 2 twigs.
Oh yeah, true. So
And-
I think just for all the sheer utility, I can put it in, I can put it in C tier.
I agree. And one reason why I prefer powder cake over jelly beans is, let's say you're wanting to get extra damage against a boss that can't hurt you, like Crab King. I think Crab King is the only boss that can't directly damage you. So eating a jelly bean for the extra damage that you get off of it would be wasteful. That's why I would prefer it be on top of a powder cake instead, because that way, in all scenarios, all you do is lose 3 health instead of wasting a potential chili powder and a jelly bean at the same time. But more often than not, if you're not going to fight Crab King, if you're going to just cheese him instead, it would be better to use chili powder on jelly beans. So I do put it on C tier for that reason, but personally, I believe it's better. Or not better than C tier, but just more viable for the powder cake or the chili powder stuff for Warley than it is for jelly beans.
Okay, next is, I think this is potato souffle.
Yeah, puffed potato souffle.
Yeah, puffed potato souffle. So this is literally, mashed potatoes, potato puree, but worse. And it's a Warley exclusive dish.
And it needs an egg instead of...
And it needs an egg, so really, this is really pushing it, like, very low D tier for me.
Yeah, it's in D tier for me too. Like, for some reason, a Warley exclusive dish is worse than what something everyone else can make. Like, did Warley make this first?
Sense.
Did Warley make this first and everyone was like, oh, he did it wrong, let me do it this way, and then Warley just copied them? Like,
yeah, it doesn't. It makes no sense, like, lore-wise.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
So, pumpkin cookies. So, I'm a little biased here because I really appreciate, like, a later dish we're going to be talking about, but I honestly think this is, like, an F tier. So, yeah, I'm just going to straight up talk about it. So, the thing is, you make this the exact same way you make taffy, except you add a pumpkin, and the benefit you get over taffy is you get a little bit extra hunger, and you get none of the health loss. The problem is, you lose so much hunger by making this. Like, I think one cooked pumpkin, like, recovers, like, 10 health. It recovers, like, a ton of hunger. Spoilage time is average, I think. And the problem is, it's like, why would you make this just to save on the health loss? Because with taffy, you only lose, like, a few health. If you eat 1 honey, you immediately offset the health loss from taffy. So it's just such a wasteful dish, in my opinion. I think it's a little hard to, like, say F tier, but it's very low D tier for me.
Yeah, I mean, personally thinking about it, I can see why you would put it in F tier, because if you have access to honey, you're not going to have just 3, you're going to have way more than that.
Yeah, exactly.
And even, like, if you had both honey and a pumpkin, you could just eat the taffy and then the pumpkin, even raw. It will offset the damage that you lost. So it's not really something that you should be making, because even in Don't Starve vanilla, like no Reign of Giants, nothing, it is still outclassed by taffy in that regard if you have access to pumpkins as well. So it's not very good if you think about it for a bit.
I gotta put it at, like, the top of F tier.
That's valid. That's more than valid.
Okay. Ratatouille. Bad?
Yep. You would think it'd be like the vegetable equivalent of meatballs, but it really is not. Not even close.
Nope. Not at all. It's basically 4 vegetables. It gives, like, 25 hunger, and it gives, like, no health, 5 sanity. You usually lose a ton of hunger by making this, unless you make it with, like, red caps. There's just very little, if any, like, value to be gained from this dish at all. Pretty bad spoilage time too, I believe, so you can't even mass produce it for hunger.
No, the spoilage time is actually good. It's 15
really?
days. Yeah.
What's it? 15 days?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, but like, and like, oh sure, you get the fast eating animation. Never make this.
It's something that could be made if you're Wurt, and you only have 1 vegetable. You can make it 1 vegetable and 3 ice to make it kind of like vegetable meatballs, but the hunger value is just not good enough to warrant that. Just cook the vegetable itself, and it'll just be better for you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put it in D's here.
I put it in D tier too, lower end.
Okay. Salsa fresca. This is 1 onion, 1 tomato, 2 filler, no fruit, I think. And it just gives normal stats, but it gives you a good amount of sanity. Spoilage time is standard. I think it's okay. But there is a better dish later on that we'll talk about that that pretty much outclasses it. But I do think it's not like other dishes that get outclassed where it's like you can never make this. I still think there's plenty of value to be gotten from it. So I would put it in like C tier.
I put it in C tier too. Like on its own, this recipe is not bad at all. It's very good for sanity purposes. But the issue is, it is extremely outclassed by another dish we'll talk about. Yeah.
Which we're a few away from.
Yep.
Okay.
Next up is
seafood gumbo. So this actually gives a decent spread of stats, but it has a problem where you need an eel to make it.
Yeah, you need at least one eel. You cannot make it without an eel.
Yeah, it's not even like, you know, a fish value thing. It's a required ingredient. The stat spread you get from this is pretty good, though. I think it's like 40 health.
Yeah, 40 health, 37.5 hunger, and 20 sanity.
The thing is, it's like you're only gonna be making this in the room, like in the caves. Like I don't know when you're gonna be fishing. I guess you'll have a mini caves like set up to make this. But it's still like not terrible just for that. I would put it at the very low, like a much. I would put it at the very lower ends of C tier.
I put it in C tier too, simply because, like, if you wanted to go fishing in caves, you could do that because
it's actually safer to fish in the caves.
Yeah, because no frogs to mess with you. But you do gotta worry about earthquakes and such.
Yeah, but I would rather. I feel much more confident like dodging earthquakes, and like you actually get like more. I mean, to be fair, it's actually nice to get frog legs too, like when they harass you, like just from normal ponds. But I think, but you also get, you know, like rocks and gemstones from earthquakes, so they both have benefits.
Yeah. Anyway, seafood gumbo, it's got good stats, but it's
a
not
little hard to
really
make, but not terrible. C tier.
Yeah, C tier.
Soothing tea.
Yeah, soothing tea. This is what happens when you forget your farm. You get to make this.
Yeah. And hey, you have to use forget-me-lots to make them. Or is it forget-me-nots? I forget what the weed is called.
It's called forget-me-lots.
Forget-me-lots. Okay, I got it right. Ironically, it's actually not the worst recipe in the world. So it actually has a sandy regen. It restores a decent amount of sandy, and it restores sandy over time.
Yeah,
it doesn't give you like a lot of health or healing, hunger or healing, but the sanity over time I actually feel like is pretty useful.
Yeah, sanity over time isn't really. It's not something that you would immediately think is bad. And it's not bad, but the reason why it's kind of just is because sanity is not really something that is going to be stationary like health.
It's usually better to just have like the sanity right now. But I could see it's like, oh, you're going into caves, or oh, it's nighttime, and you want to just counteract like the sandy, like the dormant sandy penalty.
Yeah, like it's something you can do. And
it's not horrible by any means. I would put it, you know, higher ends of C tier.
I put it in C tier too. And even if it has an interesting thing where even if you eat it stale, it'll still do the sanity regen. It just won't give you the initial sanity.
Wonder if that's a bug.
It's not a bug, but it's the spoilerless time is 3 days, so you're not really gonna find a good time to make use of this. So it's just an average thing. It's something that you can make whenever, but it's not really super amazing.
Yeah, true. Okay, spicy chili, bad.
It's very wasteful.
Very, very you lose a ton of hunger and healing by making this. Like, if you have the ingredients to make this, you have the ingredients to make pierogi. I just want to say that.
Yeah, you can make pierogi. You can make meatballs meatballs or meaty stew. If you have an extra meat or an extra vegetable, there's no reason to make spicy chili. And like, oh, it heats you up. So it barely heats you up. Like, it gives you like 10 temperature. It heals you up like 5.
It's a really horrible dish. Like, it's lower ends of D tier for me. It's expensive too, and like you can end up accidentally making this when you're trying to make like meaty stew, which is always like a pain in the ass.
Yeah, just don't try to make it.
Yeah, no, definitely not. So yeah, D tier. Next one, stuffed eggplant, F tier.
Yeah, it's somehow even more wasteful than spicy chili.
This is one of the most wasteful recipes in the game. So if you actually look at the stats of a cooked eggplant, you actually get a pretty good amount of health. Like I think you get 20 health from like a cooked eggplant.
Yeah, you get 20 health and 25 hunger, I believe.
Yeah, so you get a little extra hunger by making this. And but like the thing is, you're already losing hunger anyways because you have to like use a few other ingredients to make it. This recipe is also kind of like a Trojan horse because it actually has pretty high priority, so you can accidentally make this when you're trying to make something else.
Yeah, like if you're just take the eggplant out and cook them all and just eat them if you're gonna make it.
Yeah, this is a trash recipe in my opinion. This is like just because of how wasteful it is. This is in there like this is an F tier for me.
It's an F tier for me too. The only good thing it has over eggplants themselves is the spoilage time, but it's not good.
Okay, stuffed fish heads.
These are weird because you need both fish and barnacle for them.
Which is that's already kind of a red flag because, you can make fish sticks and you need to get like a really annoying resource.
Yeah. Now the hunger value is actually very good. It's basically supposed to be the C equivalent of bacon and eggs.
Same
But-
hunger, I think.
Yeah, same hunger and health. But then you look at the spoilage time, and oh boy,
It's bad.
you are like, it's like the reverse of bacon and eggs. It's almost the most reverse you can get.
Yeah, it's pretty awful for that. I don't know. I don't think it's like the hunger value actually is good. It's a good way to like extend the hunger value of fish and barnacles. But there's just better dishes you can make. I don't even like completely hate it, but just because of the better alternatives, I would put this at like the high end of D tier.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Stuffed peppers. Not really a fan. So
Yeah,
you
that's
get
not
like a
really that
ton of
good.
hunger from this, but I think you do you lose I know you lose sanity.
You don't get that much hunger from it. But you do get health.
You do
But-
get health. Oh no,
Yeah,
you
the
oh no,
health?
yeah, that's right. But you lose sanity if you make this.
Yeah, you lose like 5 sanity. It's not really that good. Like if you got peppers, I mean,
Just
if
make
you don't have
spices.
yeah, but even if you don't have a barley, you can just make pierogi with this instead. Like
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
need to make stuffed pepper poppers.
Yeah,
You
no,
get
it gives you
more
it gives you
sanity.
it gives you less health than pierogi. It gives you less hunger than pierogi, and you lose like 5 sanity instead of gaining 5 sanity. So no reason you should
And-
make this.
And the spoilers time is also worse than pierogi.
And you
so-
need meat to make this. So
yeah, meat is required.
this is another D tier for me.
D tier for me as well.
Okay, so now we finally have, after like a very long string of like really bad recipes, we actually have a good one. Surf and turf.
Yep, surf and turf. It's a really, really, really good fish recipe. Probably the best in the game, just by stats alone.
If there's anything that can beat like fish sticks, it's definitely this.
Yep. It does require meat and fish, but the thing with that is if say you're like trying to fish and you're trying to get albatross, right?
Yep.
And you got a crock pot on your boat with a tin fishing bin. You can just kill those sea bass that you got and make that into surf and turf and regain some sanity that you have from the night. You can get some health, which, I mean, if your health is going to be low, you might get your health lowered by albatross if you ever end up finding it. It recovers 60 health, which is amazing. It's one of the best in the game. The hunger value is not too bad.
It's standard hunger.
Yeah, you'd lose some hunger, but other than that, the other stats more than make up for it.
Good sanity, and it's and it's a nice little bonus. It is Wicker Bottom's favorite food, so even better for her.
Yeah, she restores 50 instead of 37.
As a quick aside, this is also a recipe with very high crockpot priority, so you can make it with 2 monster meat and 2 basic fishes like that you would just get from a pond. So
Yep.
that's a huge plus in my book.
Yeah, like if you're going fishing and you kill some spiders in early game, you can end up with this instead.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. A tier for me.
A tier for me as well.
Okay, next one, taffy. So this is basically a recipe you make when you have a ton of honey, which if you have any sizable bee farm, you absolutely will. You basically just use this to convert honey into sanity. It gives you a little bit of hunger. It gives you like 15 sanity, and you actually lose a couple health by eating this. But once again, you can completely offset the health loss by eating one honey, which you will definitely have. So, just because it is such an easy to make like honey recipe, I think the spoilage time could be a little bit better.
Yep.
But I think it's so good just for sanity that I would put it in B tier.
I can see why you would put it in B tier. And personally, I think it belongs there as well. So I will put it in B tier as well. It's very good for sanity. It's cheap because if you have some honey, you're probably gonna have a lot if you're using beat boxes. So it's a reliable way to regain sanity as long as you don't have low health. The only issue I have with taffy is that I personally don't like the idea of losing health in order to gain sanity.
It's kind of
So
a problem
let's
if you
say-
take it with you, like, to go. Like, if you eat
Yeah,
it, like, at base, it's fine, but if you have to, like, take it, like, as your go-to sandy food, if you're, like, taking it with you when you're going on like, you know, an adventure, I'd recommend taking something like jerky or, like, dried kelp fronds instead. But if you're just at your base and, like, you need to restore your sanity, perfectly viable choice.
Yeah, it's pretty good if you're doing like safe things and you don't need too much inventory management along with sanity, but if you're doing something like going down in the caves and you want sanity, it would be better to bring along a different sanity food, because if you bring taffy and you eat it a bunch, you're going to be losing that health is going to add up over time. As well as if you want to offset that health, you're going to have to carry something else with you, which is going to take up another inventory slot. And that can add up if depending on what like items you have.
Yeah, true.
But either way, it's good at what it does, and that's why it belongs in B tier. Very easy to make and restore sanity reliably.
Okay. Hey, we got another good one. Trail mix. A tier.
Very good.
So it is super easy to, it is ridiculously easy to make. You just need one roasted birch nut. I think you can make it out of twigs, actually.
You can make it with one roasted birch nut, 2 berries, and 1 twig. The cheapest recipe to make.
Yeah, it's extremely cheap. It recovers a ton of health for how easy it is to make. You can make it en masse, like, easily, with like a very basic birch nut farm. The only problem is, like, there's only one season out of the year where you can, like, easily, like, get tons of birch nuts, which is the autumn. But if you need, like, healing early game, it is one of, if not the best choice to go for.
Yeah. It's a very good and reliable way to get healing early game. But even after late game, it's still something that you can do. It's 30 health. It's got the quick eating time. And it cooks very fast too, so mass producing it, which is what you're probably going to do anyway, is not too big of a hassle. It's something that you can do as long as you have access to birch nuts. So if you have access to them, just go ahead and make them, and make a bunch, and you'll be very, very good on health.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan. Probably A tier.
A tier for me as well.
Okay. I like this one too, turkey dinner. I'm leaning towards high B tier, like lower A tier. I'm gonna put lower A tier. So the thing about turkey dinner is, it's very easy to make. Like, if you have a berry farm, you're inevitably gonna get gobblers. And with a proper setup, like, if you just throw one berry on the ground, they're so easy to kill. And all you need is to take the 2 drumsticks that you get from the gobblers, and then one of any other kind of meat in the game. It can be as small or big as you like. And then just 1 berry or 1 vegetable. Like 1 fruit or 1 vegetable, you can make this.
Yeah.
Very good hunger, decent healing. Just a solid dish all around.
Now, it is a pretty good dish stat-wise, but the problem I have with it is that the drumsticks can be better used to make meatballs. Like, you can just take
Yeah,
one
you will get more hunger out of it.
You can take one drumstick and 3 berries, because you're not gonna pick just one berry.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
Like, you're gonna be picking a ton. So realistically, you wouldn't really want to make a bunch of turkey dinners. Like, if you wanted the health, you could use it. Like, it's something that you can do. But on top of the cooking time is egregiously long. It takes a full minute to make.
Yeah, that's
So-
ridiculous.
And it also has a spoilage time of 6 days, so it's only going to last like 3 before it goes stale if you cooked it as early as you could. So it's in C tier for me. It's not really all too great.
Really? I'm gonna put it mid B tier just because I think it is like a good dish for what it is. You know, it's not. There's so many worse options.
Yeah, true. Like, it's good, but it's just kind of like,
Yeah, lower B tier.
yeah, it's just something that you kind of would make only if you needed the help.
Yeah, true. I think it's Wigfrid's favorite dish too, and it basically just provides like a full hunger restore for her.
It's 90 hunger for her, which is 3/4 of her full hunger. So it's pretty good for that, but you wouldn't really store it.
I completely forgot which this one was.
That is unagi.
When are you gonna make this?
Like, honestly, the fact that eels are required to make seafood gumbo makes me not really like unagi. Like, people used to make this in Vanilla Don't Starve because of the, like, sanity and the health.
No, it doesn't even give sanity. It gives 20 health, 18 hunger, 5 sanity.
Yeah, but, like, people were like, oh, it's a crockpot dish you can make underground for, like, bases and stuff. But it's really outclassed by seafood gumbo in that regard. Like, if you're going to go fishing, just get 3 extra like eels and just make seafood gumbo instead. If you're going to be doing that.
I think the nice thing about this is you can just make it out of like purely. You can just make it like one eel and like a bunch of lichen.
Yeah, that's true.
So I do think it's nice. It's cheaper. It's not that horrible. Like just because you can make it out of one eel and like a bunch of lichen. But you really shouldn't be making this dish. Like I don't know. It's very mediocre for what it is.
Yeah, I agree. It's it belongs in D tier for
Yeah,
me.
it's like it's D tier, but like the higher end of D tier.
Yeah.
Okay, vegetable stinger. Definitely leaning towards B or lower A tier for this. It is a very easy dish to mass produce, and it recovers a ton of sanity.
Yes. It's very easy. If the thing that makes dragon pie so good is that you can get a ton of tomatoes along with it if you know the combination. And if you make dragon pie and you're out of dragon pie and you want to use all the tomatoes up, you can just take your ice and use it to make a bunch of vegetable stinger. And the vegetable stinger, it has very good spoilage time for a sanity food especially. Decent hunger, but you're not going to be really eating it for that specifically. And health. The health value is kind of lost, but you're not eating it for that reason. You're eating it to gain sanity, and it's a very, very reliable sanity dish.
Yeah. So very high B tier for me.
Either bottom of A or top of B for me.
I think jelly salad might. I'm gonna put just above jelly salad just because you can get it even more of it.
Yeah. It's mass producible. And jelly salad is good. It's better for sanity, but it's not mass producible. So
Yeah, exactly.
that would knock it down for me a bit.
So, veggie burger. So this is basically if jelly salad and beefy greens had a child together, that was basically worse.
Yeah.
So, it gives like it gives a little bit of everything. It gives free health, free 7.5 hunger, free sanity.
Yeah, it's a bit like creamy potato puree in that regard.
Yeah, where it's not
restores-
bad, but it's like the ingredients you use to make it can be like better used elsewhere.
Yeah, it's middle of the road, really.
You need a leafy meat, you need an onion, you need a whole vegetable. So it's not terrible to make. I just think it's outclassed by the other leafy meat dishes.
Yeah,
But
the
still,
spoilers time isn't. Spoilers time isn't really that good for.
Oh, it's
sanity
horrible. It's
item.
only like 6 days.
Yeah, it's 6 days, so you only got 3 before it goes stale, and that's if you got the leafy meat as fresh as possible.
Yeah, well, it's going like lower C tier for me just because like it is nice to get that spread. But I don't know. Use your leafy meat for different things.
Yeah, it's C tier for me too. It's only good if you're missing like a bit of everything. If you want health, you would go for beefy greens. If you want sanity, you would go for jelly salad.
True.
Yeah. Like, you wouldn't make 2 veggie burgers when you can just make one of those 2 I'd said before.
Exactly. And I believe this is going to be our last S tier. Volko Schadenfreude.
Yes. Another Warley exclusive, but it is undoubtedly his best.
Yes. Any dish that gives you bonus damage is automatically S tier, which is only this one, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, let me just check. So, it basically electrifies you. It gives you bonus damage on wet targets, is what it does.
It gives bonus damage even without the target being
Oh, really?
wet. Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, no, okay, I get it now. So, it turns your damage into electrical damage, which basically translates to a flat damage increase.
Yep, a multiplier.
So stats it gives are, like, you know, very standard. It's not even the easiest to make. You need, like, you do need a Volgold horn.
Yeah, you need a gold horn and jelly, or not jelly. Honey,
No,
which-
you just need honey. The Volgold horn is the only big problem.
Yeah, it kind of competes with weather panes in how much you're gonna make them. So
Yeah.
if you want to make consistent use of this, you would have to go visit the. You would have to either make a goat farm yourself, or you would have to just visit them on occasion and get your meat from them.
Yeah, but still, it's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. It just
It
devastates.
shreds bosses.
It devastates the monsters. It makes.
And if the enemy is wet, it's actually a flat damage boost of 50%, but it's 150% if it's raining.
Yeah. It's
So-
just really, really good.
Yeah, definitely an S tier for me.
S tier for me too.
Okay, got waffles. So this is just another butter dish. Restores a bunch of health, a little bit of hunger, you know, like 5 sanity. It's just like, you know, the health equivalent of ice cream. You do need a berry to make it, I think. Do you need a honey to make this?
I don't think so. No, you don't need honey. You need a berry and an egg. Yeah, a berry and an egg.
To be fair, if you have eggs, like, you know, oh, just make pierogi or whatever. But I mean, if you have the butter, I guess, you know, you could do this.
Yeah, butter is just something that you get when you're trying to get health, and it's like oh, you need health? Here you go. Have this thing that restores 40 of it instead.
Yeah.
And you can make it into something that restores 60.
So,
Berries and eggs aren't. I mean, eggs can be used for pierogi, but if it's only just one egg, you're not going to be really aching if you got butter on top of that.
yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. C tier.
C tier for me also.
There are better and worse dishes to make. Wet goop.
Yep.
This is the incompatible dish. It's awful. It's basically if you ever played Paper Mario, this is a mistake.
Yeah, but it doesn't even do anything.
Yeah,
All it
it's
does
actually worse than that Paper Mario mistake.
It does not restore any stat. It doesn't take away any either.
It just
but
turns
it
into
can't
rot,
be. Yeah, all
which
it
is
does
the
turn
only
into
good
rot.
thing about it.
Yeah, that's the only utility it has. It offers nothing else. So just
Yeah, F
get
tier.
better at get better at cooking if this is what you make.
Okay, last two. This is Lobster Bisque. Very good healing. 60 healing, 25 hunger, 10 sanity. You need a lobster and ice. Lobsters are, in my opinion, not that hard to come by.
Yeah, I think I haven't tried them personally, but from what I've seen, I think they're a bit underrated. If you're basing near a lobster den, you can make use of it.
Yeah,
And
and that
having
is a
that,
lot of healing for only one lobster and one ice.
yeah,
Yeah, and
the
you can literally make it, one lobster, one ice, 2 twigs.
yeah, like
It,
that's extremely cheap.
all that for like 60 healing. That's like higher ends of B tier, maybe even lower ends of A tier for me.
Yeah, the sanity, or not sanity, I mean, it restores 10 sanity, which is above average. But what makes it really good is the fact that the spoilage time is not as bad as you would think it would be. It's 10 days, but the good thing about it is that all the ingredients never spoil if you store them properly. If you put ice in the icebox, it never spoils.
Yeah,
If you put lobsters in the tin fishing bin, it never spoils. Twigs never spoil, obviously. So you could effectively have 12 of these at the go if you have the ingredients ready for it. You
yeah.
just make 10 of them.
Fair.
Then,
Honestly, lower ends of A tier for me. I think I'm sold.
I put it in B tier just because it's a bit inconvenient to fish for them, but if you like commit to the time of it, it has really good payoff.
The only thing that's like pushing me back a little bit is if you could also make fish sticks, which give you more hunger, and a little less sanity. Like, I don't know if the time commitment is that much better. Yeah, you know what? High ends of B tier for me.
It's fair. I put it in B tier as well.
Okay, last one, lobster dinner. So this is basically the equivalent of I mean, not bananas, waffles and ice cream. You get 60 health and 50 sanity and a standard amount of hunger. This is Maxwell's favorite food, so you get 52 hunger from it when you're playing as him. And if you're going to make anything, you do need a lobster to make this.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like if you have the lobster, you could just make lobster bisque and like just save your butter for something else. So, I don't know. I would actually put in the same tier. Like, I would put in C tier too, same as like all the other butter dishes.
Yeah, I put it in C tier as well. Just like Chernobyl said, it's something that you can make. But if you have a lobster, you can just make lobster bisque because you're always gonna have twigs. You're always gonna have ice. You could just make waffles instead, at the very least, and you can change that 60 hunger from 2 ingredients to 100 hunger, or not 60 hunger, 60 health from 2 ingredients to 100 health from 2 ingredients. So it's a bit redundant, and on top of that, it being Maxwell's food, it perfectly fits in character. But Maxwell is not really someone that's gonna have trouble with sanity all too often. At least not in the conventional sense of that he's out of it and can't get it back. So even though the spoilage time is better, I put it in C tier just because it's kind of redundant and you're not really gonna make use of it over the alternatives that you can make. It's still good on its own, however.
Alright, that's every dish, and don't starve to get her ranked.
Yep.
Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with anything. Please subscribe for more. We have more content coming out soon. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Thanks for watching. See you later.